Hello and welcome to another Spec 3 educational video. Today we're going to talk about one of the most controversial and most exciting moves in racing, the dive bomb. If you've seen any of our previous videos, we talked about the right to the line, meaning how far up on a car in front of you do you need to be in order for them to not be able to choose whatever line they want going into a turn and leading to them having to leave you space. The dive bomb maneuver is when you are very far behind the car in front of you and you brake much later than them in an attempt to get beside them before or during turn in and get the inside line to a turn. This move is very popular with arcade video game racers and fans of Formula One, as it's kind of a legal move in those situations. As long as you get your car beside the other car in some capacity, there's an expectation for space. However, this is not realistic in really any kind of racing that you and I will be doing in our lives as CCA, National Autosport Association. They have very specific rules stating that you cannot do that. You must be sufficiently alongside the vehicle that you're trying to pass before the turn starts. You can start to talk about the vortex of danger, and that really stems from where a driver is expected to be able to see you when they're turning, because people aren't looking in their mirrors when they're turning. When the vehicle starts to rotate a direction, the mirrors shift away from what's behind them, so a car that's approaching from the very inside of the track is invisible to them, so on and so forth. But the main thing is it's unsafe. So in this video today, we're going to talk about just how far along a vehicle you need to be for it to not be a dive bomb when you try to outbrake somebody, and then we can show and look at some of the examples of when it may work and when it may not work and when it can lead to disaster. So to start out, we're going to look at a very typical example of getting a run on somebody and just outbraking them. So you can see me, I brake a little later, and I get completely beside the black car before either of us start to turn the wheel. I'm in complete legal position. The person I'm passing knew I was there, gave me the space, and everything was great. That's the way to do a pass. You get a run coming out of the turn leading up to a straight, or you get some kind of maneuver done that gives you an advantage to actually pass them on merit and not just based off of who's willing to make contact the most. So we'll go back and we'll replay that. So in this clip, I'm driving the car that you see in the video, and there's a competitor in front of me. I've been working on passing this guy all race, and I get a better run out of the last turn of VIR hog pin. So I'm in the draft, I've got a little speed on him, and I feign a move to the left. So in NASA, you get one defensive move. So my objective here was to go to the left, to have them block me to the left, and then that leaves a space open on the right, and they're not allowed to move back over. So as you can see here, there are a couple things that I want to point out as far as how to safely execute a pass under braking. The first thing that I want to make abundantly clear is that I am right up against this car. If you attempt to outbrake somebody and you are 1 to 2 to 3 or more car lengths or car widths away from them, there's no way they can see you. They may catch you out their peripheral, but when you are right next to their door, you're filling up their mirror, they can hear you, they can feel the difference in the air pressure out the passenger window. There are so many things that being right up on them helps with. This also stops a huge collision if there is contact. Since we're right next to each other, if I completely screw up this braking zone and I slide through, it'll just be a little tap instead of a complete T-bone if I hit him. The second thing you'll notice is all of my braking is in a straight line. I have outbraked this black car to this point, and neither of us have turned the wheel. By the time that either of us are turning the wheel, we are completely side by side, and I'm actually gaining an advantage. So it's a completely legal pass. The third and most important point I want to make about this clip is that when I choose to outbrake them and pass on the inside of this turn, I do not force the car that I'm passing to take a wider line. I don't blow through the braking zone, I hug the inside corner. And this shows that I'm in control of the car, I'm making a responsible pass. And that's the difference in a dive bomb. In a dive bomb, you can kind of define it as braking so late that you cannot avoid causing the car you're passing to take a very wide line or have to completely check up to avoid contact. I outbroke this car. I turned through the turn and left 2 or more car widths on the outside of me. This is the safest way to complete a pass. And beyond the safety aspect of executing a braking pass properly, when you do a dive bomb, usually you'll be forced to take a very wide exit, at the apex of the turn because you broke so late you can't hug that inside line, and it'll compromise your exit speed, and the car that you're passing will just do the over-under move and be able to cut on the inside of you on the corner exit and rocket away. But if you do the pass responsibly, hug the inside, and then get to the apex where you normally would, you can accelerate at the same time and get a really good run coming out of the turn. So in this clip, you can see that even though I pulled this crazy tight entry into turn 1, I'm up 4/10 and then 5/10 on my aim coming out of that. So here's an example of trying a late braking move that doesn't work, but I trust the person I'm racing against and I have reserve to back out in case it goes wrong. You can see here that I try a late move to the inside and brake very late to try to close the ground, but the car in front of me has already started to turn in before we even have any overlap. To be abundantly clear here, this is not a legal move by me. So nobody gets in trouble because there's no car contact, and the car in front of me had great awareness to know that I was there and to not turn into the apex. But as you can see here, we are already braking, and I'm still a car length behind. And then before I even get a front wheel close to his passenger door, we've already turned into the turn. So this car had every right, according to the rules, to turn all the way into that turn and jump that curb at the apex. Now this goes back to legal isn't always smart. It wouldn't have been a smart move for him to do it, but I had no right to put my car there. I would have had to have been alongside of him 100 feet before this occurrence here to have any right to try to go side by side through this turn. So this is a textbook dive bomb. Luckily, there was no contact because I race with great people and they have great awareness and they knew that it was coming and they didn't turn in, but they had every right to. Now, because I race with some really great people, I actually don't have any footage over many years of racing of anyone making contact with me dive bombing, but here's a great example. This car brakes from 200 feet back. I see it in my mirror and hang wide left to give them space through the turn, and even then they still make contact. Looking at this again in slow motion, me in the blue car with the Spec 3 livery, you can see I have a gap of 4 to 5 cars. I brake around the 3, this car brakes around the 2 possibly, and they make up a gap of about 5 cars. If we freeze it right here, this tells the entire story. Me in the front in the lead car, I have already turned the wheel. I have committed to the turn, and this car is still 2 full car lengths behind me. Unfortunately, they still go for the apex, and only because I saw them braking very late did I go wide to avoid the contact. So right there before the contact, it's already a dive bomb because I had to alter my line due to someone trying to pass me after we've already started braking and turned in for the turn. So in summary, you're likely doing a dive bomb if you aren't in legal position before you turn, if you're trying to close the gap by several car lengths under braking, if the other driver has to significantly change their line or even slow down more to avoid hitting you, and if your line through the turn crosses over the other car's line because you aren't able to take the inside line and do a reasonable exit of the turn without pushing through. I hope this has been helpful. Good luck out there.